I had the privilege of launching a startup nonprofit for returning citizens named Georgia Calls. We created a program to help individuals returning to society after serving a prison sentence succeed socially and economically so that they would not return to prison. That experience helped clarify my love for instructional design and taught me the limits of my understanding. Those limits are the reason I'm seeking advanced education in instructional design and technology. I recall one incident that clarified those limits for me. After being in our program for 8 months, one of our clients purchased a 15-year-old car with more than 200,000 miles on it, with a 5-year note that cost 25% of his take-home salary. He was, and remained, one of our best and brightest clients, but his actions flew in the face of every principle that we had taught him. That incident illuminated for me where I needed to grow as an instructional designer. Delivering information to students is not enough to change their choices and behaviors. Too many of us believe that our knowledge about a subject is enough for us to exercise self-control in the moment of choice. When I think about my experiences as an instructor and as a designer, my first goal is to create courses that change the way people decide. For me, the goal of education is not knowledge. To me, the goal is to empower people with the tools that they need to thrive. It requires both higher order cognitive skills of Bloom's taxonomy, but also integrating that knowledge down to the lower level skills so that they remember, understand, and apply their learning in the appropriate situation. Secondly, I want students to learn the tools and processes required to gain consensus. There is a synergy to social learning that allows us to find solutions that are greater than any that we could discover on our own. Industry is looking for a labor force that knows how to build consensus from data. I want to build courses that allow students to practice and grow in their ability to wrestle to an accord that incorporates the learning of all learners involved. From that, I want to instill an inclination to action for my students, which will give them the confidence to live boldly. I believe that every learning theory gives us a glimpse into the mystery of human cognition. Therefore, I consider myself an adherent of the eclectic instructional design theory. However, instructional design should not be an everything in the kitchen sink approach. The fundamental design template is the ADDIE model. Virtually every ID model starts with some version of analysis, the A in ADDIE. This analysis should influence the learning theory, design principles, and instructional strategies selected for development. For me, that analysis begins with identifying the results that are desired from the learning opportunity and what evidence of that learning is acceptable. This inclination to begin with the end in mind means that backwards design will be a fundamental approach for my work. From that foundation, I'll emphasize social learning, discussion, and other tools on a constructivist approach. Additionally, the ubiquity of the internet means that the principles of connectivism will be used. To instill the bent toward action, I will use meaningful application and timely feedback in my designs. The goal is purposeful practice for the students, which will result in personal change. In the decades since the invention of the internet, human behavior toward learning has changed dramatically. However, our teaching methods have not kept pace. YouTube is arguably the internet's second largest search engine. People are using new tools to learn. Technology has to be integrated, or we are teaching different students than the learners we have. However, Internet search can only transmit knowledge, which doesn't always result in learning or change in choices. I want to extend those tools to help learners engage their higher cognitive functions, as well as practice the information they extract from their search. To accomplish and measure learning, my designs will require significant amounts of feedback. Again, I believe that it is important to incorporate assessment across Bloom's taxonomy, measuring both higher and lower order cognitive skills. The higher order skills will help the students form their worldview, while the lower order skills will help them apply that worldview in real-life scenarios. Feedback shapes performance, especially formative assessment. That feedback must extend to my design as well as student performance. Again, citing Addy, the cycle closes with evaluation, which allows the course to be improved. When I look back at my goals as an instructional designer, I must measure the actual results of the course. What does the interactions that I have designed actually produce? Are the courses I have designed actually helping people thrive? After they complete the module, are they more confident in their knowledge and abilities? Do they have the tools and skill to find consensus with a group? Too many of my previous instructional design efforts have left students with the false sense that their knowledge of the subject would translate to correct decisions. Some of that is the fault of the designer. Some is the fault of the learner. Just like the students, I am practicing a skill with the goal of mastery. If my practice is not intentional, my skill will plateau and my students will suffer. Students who have heard the correct answers will still make bad choices, choices that keep them stuck in a life they desperately want to change.